for as long as possible, no matter really what the age. It has to do with weight and height. It does have to do with legs at a certain point. If the legs get put in the chest, then you definitely want to, turn that child around forward facing. But you can keep them there between ages 3 and 5 years old, depending on your child. So the other important thing you want to do, probably before anything else, is read the manual. I know it's boring. I always tell parents, grab a cup of coffee, quiet room when the kids are napping, or when the kids aren't arriving yet, you have plenty of time. Please read the manual. It's probably the one thing parents don't do, and there's a reason why the manuals are written. And we just rewrote the whole manual because we rebranded. If anybody's familiar with Diono, you've noticed we have a new logo, and we're really happy about this logo. It just promotes safety, it promotes fun and family and journeys, and so we revamped the whole manual to make it easier for consumers to read and follow along, and gives a lot of great tips on what to do before you get started, because it can be kind of overwhelming. So you want to read that manual. And I would say all of us now have videos online that you can go to. I recommend going to the manufacturer's videos because we're the ones that know how to install our car seats, and so that's really your best resource. And then if all else fails, please call us, because all the manufacturers have staff that are either certified or they're just really well trained on our own brand car seat and the installation tips that you need to get. A couple things that people get confused about is what's supposed to be tight and what's supposed to be snug. So the car seat, when you install it, whether you use the seat belt or the latch, is you want the seat connected to the vehicle as tight as possible. Now that doesn't mean to make sure the seat belt is just stretched so tight that you can't maneuver the seat, but less than 1 inch of movement side to side, front to back at the belt path only. And then the harness actually can be snug and comfortable. So these poor kids, sometimes parents just have them in there super duper tight, and it's really not necessary. You don't need to make red marks on top of the child's collarbone. Just have it snug and comfortable where you can't pinch the webbing at that collarbone. The other thing I always like to promote is checking with a certified technician that has experience. And I forgot my little card, but it's in the back room. A certified child passenger safety technician will always be able to produce their certification card. And so if you are meeting with somebody, especially if you're going to be paying them, make sure they show you their certification card, because this tells you that they're staying up to date with continuing education credits. They're either going to conferences or they're going online to a good source where they're earning their CEUs online. And they're participating in community checkup events with other experienced technicians. But it's good to double check your work. I think we all go to the doctor to get a prescription drug for our children, right? So, you want to go to the expert. And I think if you're signing up your child for piano lessons, you're going to go to the expert, right? So this is something that's about their safety. So I definitely want to encourage people to use a certified technician. Now that might not mean the fire station. They're not always all certified. That might not mean the police department. They're not always certified. So sometimes they are difficult to find. We have been doing this program for almost 20 years, and we don't have enough technicians. So, you're about to become one, so I'm very proud of that. Anybody can become a certified technician. I was just a mom on a mission. My husband thought I was a maniac. But I became a certified technician so I can go out and help the people in my community, because I wasn't doing it right in one of my vehicles, and what if we had been in a crash? So there's different seatbelt systems and different ways to install the car seat. So definitely, encourage your readers to use a certified technician. And then I want to talk about using the seat properly every ride. It's so easy, when you have the cute ones, pitch and fit. Maybe it's 100 degrees out and they're just so hot and sweaty and they're fighting you to get in the car seat. And you just go, forget it. I'm just, it's only 4 blocks to go home, okay? That can be that 4-block tragedy. So every time you're using the car seat, use it correctly every time. Make sure it's installed correctly. Make sure nobody unbuckled the seat or unlatched it. I mean, that happens all the time. Make sure you snug them in the harness properly. Get the chest clip at armpit level properly every single ride. And lastly, one of the main hot topics going on right now in the media is you've heard about the epidemic of children being left in cars. Mm-hmm. How can that happen? I can tell you how it happens. People get distracted, and it's not necessarily their fault. 2 years ago, we were going to a neighborhood picnic party. I was already there. I gave all my kids instructions on what to tell my husband when he pulled in with his 88-year-old mother. So I was already there, having a great time. My husband jumps out of the truck. The kids are going, "Dad, get this. Mom said to do this, do that, do this." And so my husband's like, "Okay." You know, he's attending to his 88-year-old mother. And we go to the park for 2 hours, having a great time. Families, dogs running around. At one point I went, "Gosh, we probably should have brought my dog here." So he goes back to get the truck to help take all the stuff he schlepped down there. And guess what was in the truck for 2 hours? The dog. So if it could happen to my husband and us as a family, and let me tell you, it still gives me goosebumps. He's fine, the dog was fine, but that's how it happens. And so look before you lock the car, check your back seat, put anything back there that's gonna cause you to go, "Oh, I want my purse," or "I want my shoe," or "I want my phone," something that you're never gonna walk down the street without. Check other vehicles. Every time, maybe it's just the safety crazy person in me, but every time I go to the grocery store or the mall, I'm walking by cars, and guess what? If I see a car seat, my eyeball goes straight for the car seat. It used to be, let me go see if it's installed properly. Now I just look to see if it's actually a child left in the car. And by all means, I mean, you have a split decision to make. You know, you check on the child, see if they're in distress. If you feel like they are, you break the window. You can check with your local laws here, but there's Good Samaritan laws that protect you from those kind of things in certain states. I opted, because there was an older kid, like a 6 or 7-year-old with a young toddler in the car. She could talk to me, everything was fine, so I ran in the grocery store and we paged the heck out of the mother, who was horrified and did not appreciate being paged in public. And she claimed she was only there for 3 minutes, but I had been standing out there for about 8. So, you know, it's your split decision you have to make. I've spoken with police officers, and they said by all means break the windows. You know, it's better to save the life of a child and have to deal with the law stuff, you know, later on down the road if that becomes necessary. So those are some of my general safety tips. We can talk for like 2 or 3 hours here, I kid you not. But let's talk about one of the reasons we're here, and that's the Diono car seats. I've been working for Diono for 5 years, and I can tell you, while I can spout off all the great safety features and convenience features of these seats, you know, the rubber hits the road when you hear those save stories. And we have some remarkable stories of children that have been in horrific car crashes where the adult passengers either died or were severely injured, and then there's not a scratch on the child in the car seat. So, you know, it makes me feel good to be able to represent a company that produces such a stout, sturdy, strong seat with a, you know, a fully integrated steel frame, a 5-point harness that has a thicker webbing on it to help contain that child to a higher speed plus a heavier weight limit on the seat. The seat can be utilized for rear facing with a newborn. A lot of people don't realize that. Some people think you have to have an infant carrier for, you know, leaving the hospital, but actually that's not the case. As long as you have a car seat that meets the weight, height, and age requirement of that child, then you can use a convertible car seat. So this one goes rear facing up to, the RXT goes to 45 pounds, and the Rainier in the other car goes to 50 pounds rear facing. So I was explaining to Mom, rear facing for as long as possible keeps the child safer, protecting the head, the neck, and the spinal cord. It has, you know, an aluminum reinforced head support going around the child's head, a top tether, obviously, which everybody needs to have on their seat. But then we also have what's called the Safe Stop, which is an energy absorbing mechanism that goes on the harness for that smaller stature child that helps reduce those G-forces on the neck and the chest. So everything built in. Low profile seat. A lot of people tend to miss that feature. Not only is it convenient for boarding the child, I can tell you after 20 years my shoulder still bothers me from doing this big high lift over a high lip car seat. Having that low profile makes it convenient, but it also makes it safer. The lower the seat sits in the vehicle, the lower the G-forces are on the child, it reduces that forward movement. So a lot of great safety features built in. And then the EPS foam, which is an energy absorbing foam, is totally surrounding the child and then under the tailbone, which is really important because that tailbone gets that first bang in the crash. So they're going downward in the seat upon impact, and so having that absorption under the tailbone is a really good feature, and later I'll talk about why that's important for race car drivers. So anyway, I think that pretty much covers the features, the comfort features, which I know mommies like to, you know, touch and make sure seat is comfortable. You know, from what I hear from our consumers, the kids love these seats. There's memory foam in the seat, so that makes it comfortable for a kid on a long ride. You know, they can get in and out easier. The soft padding on the harness makes it comfortable for them to wear that harness on them all the time. And then it folds flat for travel. So you can fold it flat, hook up, either put it in our travel bag or take the straps and hook it up and actually backpack it through the airports. And then it's narrow enough that not only can we fit 3 across in most mid-sized vehicles as you see here, but it fits on most airplane seats. Yep. And so that makes it convenient for travel. And before anybody tells me they're too heavy to travel, I think I had a mom about your size come to me and says she carried 1 child in a carrier. The 4-year-old held her hand. She had a radian here and a radian here, and she marched through the airport that way, installed both car seats on the airplane, and kept her children safer on takeoffs, landings, and turbulent motion. You know, people say, well, why on an airplane? And that's why, because laws of physics increase exponentially on takeoffs and landings and rough turbulence. I don't know if anyone's dropped about 1,000 feet in the air. You go down, baby goes up. There's just no way to, you know, keep baby in your lap. So I always encourage people to take some type of car seat on the airplane with them, and the radians and the Rainiers make it easier because they do fold flat and you can backpack them through the airport. So I think I covered everything, possibly. You use the seatbelt or the lower anchors. Now, since 2014, NHTSA, which is our National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, has limited the weight that we can actually attach children to those anchors. So I just usually say use the seatbelt anyway, because the seatbelt, everyone says, well, isn't the latch, you know, stronger? Well, actually, the seatbelt webbing holds you and I in the car. It's designed to take about 6,000 pounds of force. So obviously, this is stronger than the anchors and the straps that get put through the car seat with the connectors on it. So don't be fearful of installing a car seat with a seat belt. For forward facing, on our seats, you always want to put the seat more in an upright position. The child's safer in a more upright position. And then you want to check for the correct belt path. And on all car seats, there are usually labels. This one says forward facing. There's a forward facing label there. The rear facing's here. So it's really important that the strap, whether you use the latch or if you use a seat belt, that it goes through the correct belt path, because a lot of bad things can happen. And I have a lot of parents that think that they're engineers or say, well, this has got to be safer if I do 2 or 3 different things. You really want to follow the manufacturer's instructions, because you want to crash, you want the seat to crash the same way we crash tested it, right? And so if you're doing anything different, then that might, you know, be a safety issue for your child, and you don't want that on your hands. So we're going to go through the forward facing belt path. For our car seats, our fabric opens up here on the inside so you can reach through easier. The first thing I'm going to do actually is attach the top tether, because that just makes life easier when you attach the top tether first. Now, you don't know it, but Nissan says to either raise the headrest all the way up or remove it altogether. So I'm going to raise it up. And loosen the strap as much as possible so I have some flexibility here. And then who's ever in the back seat there? Who's in the back seat? Do you see the tether anchor back there? Yes. Do you know how to hook it up? Just clip it on the way it's hanging down there, so it should go like this way. Hook on. Just give it a click. You don't want to tighten the top tether first. You always want to get the car seat secured at the belt path only first, but I'm just giving myself some room before, so all I have to do is tighten it when we're done. And then the seat belt goes through the belt path here. Are you watching me? You learning so you know how to do seats? Keep baby safe. And then if somebody, there's the seat belt buckle. You want to click. And now seat belts lock two ways, and I would say more than anything now, especially in newer vehicles, the seat belt's going to lock by pulling the belt all the way out and wait for that ratcheting sound. You see when I let it in, I can't pull it out, so that means it's in locking mode. Sometimes though, seat belts might lock down at what's called the latch plate, and I'll show you how to test for that in just a minute. And then I always like to kind of reach in here closer to the buckle side, because all I'm going to do is pull that seatbelt straight up, push with one hand, pull with the other, and then what you're doing is you're allowing the lap belt to tighten down on the belt path. That's what needs to get tight, and then you feed the excess through to make sure. And then sometimes it might be easier too to just push over here and get a little bit more. Pull as close to the buckle as possible. You just get more leverage that way and tighten down. Now I'm going to take my least dominant hand, grab at the belt path area, not here, not up here, but where it's actually secured, and it should move less than an inch, side to side, front to back at the belt path only. And then your last step is to snug up the top tether. You don't have to pull our top tether super duper tight. If you do, you might lift the car seat up off the vehicle seat, so that's not necessary. And then with our top tether, you still might be able to pull the top of it forward, and that's okay. Because the way we test it on the bench, it gets snugged down, but we still have play room even on the test bench. It's not anchored here, it's anchored right here behind this part of the seat, and so it doesn't allow this top part to really fit flush with the vehicle seat, but that's still going to emulate how we tested on the test bench. The only disadvantage to that is going to take up a lot of real estate in the vehicle rear facing, but I have a remedy for that. But for a newborn, you have to leave the seat fully reclined, because newborns don't have head control and it can cut off their air passage. So you always want to make sure a newborn's head is back. And generally speaking, either the infant carriers or the convertibles are going to be anywhere between a 35 and 45 degree recline, and that's appropriate for a newborn baby. So to get started, oh, you know what? I'm going to need this area here. So our car seat comes with a detachable base. It's going to be at the top of the box when you open up the box. It is only to be used for rear facing. It has a locking mechanism here that you would slide once I attach it to the bottom of the car seat. You'll notice that we have two different reclines here. It pops out about an inch and a half. We're going to leave that flush like that, because otherwise this won't lock in place. So always know that the bottom has to be up into the bottom of the car seat. And then this is going to fit in just like a puzzle, okay? There are spaces here. This gets hooked onto the only bar that it could fit onto, and I'm just going to, I always like to just give it a whack, it's just easier. And then I slide the mechanism so it's locked in there. And then these feet are going to slide directly into the seat pipe, okay? So now we're sitting rear facing. Now I know it looks very upright, but really and truly when you put a newborn in there, the newborn's head should sit back okay, especially if we have the seats with the inserts. If a newborn's head is flopping forward, it's not the right car seat for them. We don't want people using our seat just because. But I can tell you in about 4 weeks time, that baby's probably going to fit in it just fine. So if people buy the seat for a newborn and it doesn't work, I'd say keep the seat, because you're going to use it, within a couple of months once baby starts getting some head control. And then again, With the seatbelt, look for the rear-facing belt path. That helps guide you to the right path. And then slide it through the bottom and then reach on the other side. Now, I have small hands, so it's easy enough for me to fit my hands in there. If you have bigger hands, I say turn the seat sideways and then drop the seat belt in there. It makes it easier. Again, this seat belt locks by hearing the ratcheting. I can't pull it all the way out. And then again, I'm going to come close to the buckle because I can grab all the excess. And I'm pushing with one hand, tightening down the lap portion. And with one hand, it doesn't move side to side, front to back. That's the only place you test for rear facing. It's going to move here.
Okay.
Because nothing's securing the seat up here. This is not where the belt path is. So during a collision, this is the way it's set up on the test bench, which by the way, we go 30 to 35 miles per hour into a dead stop, which meets NCAP severe crash test standards. You're gonna, that seat belt's gonna grab again, it's gonna retract tight, and it's gonna keep that seat, it's gonna move forward a little bit because that's what it's designed to do, and then it's gonna come back. Everything kind of works hand in hand together. The vehicle takes the brunt of the crash forces, the seat belt, the belt path, the harness. You know, the last thing to really, you know, come along is the impact to your child. So that's why you put a child in a car seat in a 5-point harness. And that's it. That's all it takes to install the seat rear facing. We do have the capability of using the top tether rear facing if you want, but you don't have to use it. There's no standard for a rear facing top tether capabilities, but we do add that for some extra stability during all types of collisions. Okay? Wasn't that easy?
Yes.
Okay.